Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror movie and they discuss it. Today we're talking about the 1986 film The Fly, which was directed by David Cronenberg. I'm your co-host Alec.
I'm Erik, and with us again is Matt Banever. Matt, welcome to the show.
Pleasure as always, gentlemen.
Matt is back.
Yeah, watch out.
Yeah.
Turn your speakers down.
You're becoming our remake guy, kind of, but
yeah.
Well, you did The Thing with us, and that was a remake, and then this was another 50s remake.
And then The Blob, he did The Blob with us.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's a remake.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Right Fly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm the remake guy who watches the wrong films.
Oh, you went to 1955? No, we want the 1980 version.
Yeah, no, I definitely had to make sure that we were watching the 86 version.
Right. Now, you actually asked us specifically for this one, so you're a big fan of this one?
I am. Same thing with The Thing. I love that. I feel like that time, the 80s, was just the peak of horror. It was such a good time that blended not just shock and awe, but just the prosthetics that get used.
I was going to say special effect horror.
Yeah, truly, there is no horror movie that I've seen that has CGI that trumps any of these 80s movies.
Agree.
Oh, for sure. I mean, American Werewolf in London, The Thing, Pumpkinhead. I mean, there's so many. And I actually just watched a documentary where they were talking exactly about that, about 80s horror movies where they were like, we didn't want to copy anybody. We wanted to be as original as possible.
Yeah.
And even this one being a remake, it is different than the original one as well. But so you love just The Fly in general, or just the special effects, or what drew you to this one?
I watched this movie randomly, 10 or 15 years ago. It just was it was on Netflix or something, and
what the hell is this about?
Yeah, I was like, oh, The Fly, let me
about?
turn this on. And then I was just there's just baboons turning inside out. I was like, what the hell? What am I seeing?
Well,
what is this like?
One comment about the baboons. Can we start with a field mouse or something? It's no, we're doing baboons off the bat.
Where did you even get a baboon at this late at night?
Multiple. He's like, oh, I'm sorry I killed your brother.
Yeah.
How many baboons do you have?
Yeah. So, I mean, I watched it just randomly. And at the same time, I think I had seen The Thing somewhat around the same time period. So I was becoming more aware of this era of films. But I remember just being so blown away with how I felt watching this movie. Again, the baboon scene, it just seeing how graphic that was.
Yeah.
It was that's real terror. You're not it wasn't pop out scary. It was just oh my God.
It was a baboon that got turned inside out. And that's the exact image I would picture an inside out baboon to look like.
Yeah, and the sound it made and everything. It was just oh my God.
Kind of alive still. It was alive, but it was, dude, that's so freaky when you think about it.
Yeah, I was just that image, I haven't watched that movie since that first time, and to this day I think about that inside out baboon and it creeps me out.
Dude, the fingernail scene and the teeth. I was that's gonna haunt me for a little bit.
Everything about him transforming was so disgusting. And I remember this morning, I watched this movie this morning at by myself at 4 a.m. and I was sitting there, and when his ear falls off and Gina Davis goes to hug him, I was in my spinning chair, spinning around, oh God, that's so gross, because his ear falls off and then they hug and her face is touching where his ear just fallen off. And it's that is the most disturbing thing ever. And I was actually reading the IMDb trivia, and Gina Davis said that was the only scene that she struggled to get through, because what we saw is what she saw. And immediately they went in for a hug, and her hair was in his ear hole.
The goo hole.
Yeah, and it was just what the hell? Why are we seeing this?
Oh,
but
God.
What about you guys? Have you seen it before?
My dad actually showed this to me when I was a kid. I feel like he showed me this and Scanners right when I was probably 10. And I didn't really like it when I was a kid. I was like, oh, this is creepy or whatever, but I don't really think I, like, understood the deeper meanings of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I kinda dismissed it for most of my, like, 20s or whatever, and now rewatching it now, I definitely appreciate it more. My god, though, that fingernail scene, literally that's the only thing I really remembered was the fingernail scene, and seeing it again, I was covering my eyes the whole time seeing it. I was just like, "I
Yeah.
can't look at it." What about you, Eric?
I think I saw this when I was, like, parts of it when I was a kid, like, I remember seeing it, but then I watched it in middle school, and back then, I was really, during lunch, I would arm wrestle people a lot,
Mm,
and there's that scene with the arm wrestle thing, and I think that made me so scared to arm wrestle people, like, "Hey, what if my bone just snaps?"
yeah.
Like, just gives out, and I stopped doing that, like, that day. So, middle school,
Yeah.
but, this is the first time I've seen it since. Yeah, I piecemealed this movie, but, it let me soak in a little bit, like, I watched
Yeah.
it part of it to the teleportation, soaked that in, then I watched that to, like, the maggot abortion scene,
Yeah.
and
Oh
then
my god.
I watched it the final 25 minutes go so quick.
That was my first thought was, "Holy shit, the pace of this movie
It's
is."
slow, and then it builds, and then it pops at the
Yeah,
end.
because like, by the time he's, like, Brundlefly, you have completely forgotten that Jeff Goldblum was, like, a man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, but it's a short movie. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. It's not
yeah,
that long. And
yeah.
so I'm just like, this is insane. But one of the things I really loved, this is something I only appreciate now watching this movie more critically, is I love how there are so few characters.
Yeah.
There's like three people in this movie.
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, was this a play adaptation or what? It's a remake, but then it's loosely based on a short book. And
Mhm.
then it's kind of has to do with the whole metamorphosis
Mhm.
book and all stuff like that. So I really liked that because you got this whole sense of like the plight of man changing. And there are definitely undertones of like disease and ageism and what happens when we're changing and going through something. And I don't think that any of that would have come through had we had to care about the girl's parents and her other family and the office relationships and whoever these other investors are at Brundle's science fair. Like there were no superfluous characters.
I don't know if you guys agree with this, but it feels like a relationship in a nutshell. Like a whole, you get to see an entire like relationship start and end, and you see jealousy, and you see like things that come between people. And I think that was kind of the point of it, where it's like we wanted to just focus on the important people. Yeah, you're right. Nothing to detract from this relationship.
Right. And I don't know if you guys knew this or saw this, but there were several alternate endings
Huh.
filmed. So basically, for those who hadn't seen it, there's two pods that teleport him from one to the other. He gets in and teleports, but a fly gets in. And over the course of the movie, he starts to change into a giant fly
Mhm.
creature. And it gets really gross and violent. His ear falls off. Where was I going with this? Oh, so towards the end the movie, he like ends up just fusing with one of the pods, and he's like half machine, and he takes a shotgun and shoots himself in the head or whatever, and she shoots him. But
That's what I saw.
Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
saw
That's the
too.
ending?
yeah, exactly. There were no these other endings were filmed and not released at all. Like there are endings that have to do with her either keeping the baby or not keeping the baby. One, she has a dream and she gives birth to a boy, and as soon as the boy comes out, these gorgeous butterfly wings come out, and Stathis is there, and that's how the movie ends. And then there's another one where she has like two maggot twin babies,
Ugh.
and Stathis is there, and then the movie ends. And Jeff Goldblum like threw a fit. He was like, "Well, then what was the whole point of Brundle and his whole story arc? Like we need to when the hero dies, the story ends."
Right.
And I definitely thought that when I saw the ending, and it just he gets shot, and like 1 minute later, the credits roll. There's
Mhm.
nothing. There's
Yeah.
no like closure, but it did feel so right to end it at that moment. Like it would have added nothing to watch Stathis go to the hospital and try to explain why he doesn't have a hand to any doctor. You
And a
know,
leg, his leg got
yeah, he
turned
doesn't have
too.
a hand and a foot. And
Yeah.
what's he gonna do? Like, it was such an abrupt ending, but it also felt so right, because Alec, like you said, you saw the beginning, the middle, and the end of a relationship, and that's it. There's no kind of superfluous details in this story.
Well, Eric, do you remember the ending of Videodrome?
Yeah, that kinda ends the same way, right?
Yeah, he blows it's James Woods and he shoots himself in the head or whatever, and that was 3 years before this, and it was the same director as David Cronenberg, so
Hmm.
I think he just likes that kind of just, like, no hope, it's
Mhm.
over, like, it's it sort of thing, let's move on.
I think he leaves it up to us to come up with what's next. Is she gonna get the abortion? Is she gonna
Yeah,
keep it? Like, it lets us have the imagination from there, which I like.
yeah,
We don't need to see her with 2 twin-banded
No.
babies, but what
yeah,
she does is she actually saves Jeff Goldblum at the end, and
yeah,
by like, he's like, "Please shoot me in the head," and she does,
Ugh.
and he does, like, becomes part of the pod and shit, and
Yeah, God.
it's dude, like, he's
So
probably in I
fucked
don't
up.
even wanna know how painful, like, that existence must be, but
yeah.
yeah, it's he just literally grabs that shotgun and just, like, puts it to his dome. He's like,
It's like, he's
pull it
still in
now."
there. He's still in there. He's, like, spliced with the
But
fly, the machine.
he's fighting the fly because the fly is also taking over his brain,
Yeah,
Right.
and
I thought that was
so cool.
beautifully done. The nuance of the fly versus Brundle. Like, once the fly in his brain started to take over and think, I've got a chance to live, that's when he became more violent. But then
Yeah,
you saw Brundle try to be like, all right, wait, no, I got to fuse with another human to bring my human self back. And yet there was clearly like this
instinct. Yeah,
illogical plan being formed because he was being torn between fly and man. Like, I thought that was so beautifully done.
yeah, it was great.
It made me so, like, kind of uncomfortable too, because it's like, it's something that he never foresaw, like, at all. Like, he never thought that this could be a thing where, "Oh my god, there's a bug in here, and it could get inside of me and literally take over." And it was so I don't know, it was kind of like the Wolfman or something like that, like, you don't have control of what's in your own body. It's a very creepy concept, especially he never turns back to a man, it's not
Right.
like,
Mhm.
other people or vampires or whatever where they can go to sleep, I don't know. But his fingernails, his teeth, he's completely unrecognizable. It's
Th-
fucked up. It made me feel really uncomfortable watching it sometimes.
Yeah, no, and I think but it does it in a way that makes you think. Like, it's not just
Yeah,
like, oh god, this is kind of gross and fucked up. Like, you're like, God damn, what must this be like? Like that
Right.
part when right after his fingers all pop and whatever, and he sits on the toilet and on the tub, and he's like, is this it? Am I dying? Is this the end? And his real fear of not knowing what's gonna happen
he's terrified. He's
is
terrified.
is completely terrifying because yeah, he spends so long with himself and his numbers and his 5 of the same outfits just so he can focus on figuring out the questions. Like, now he is completely in uncharted territories where he has no idea what is about to happen.
I think he's his own worst enemy too, because it's like, dude, you just teleported to stocking, no problem. You are clearly the father of teleportation.
Yeah.
No one's gonna take that from you if you come out and show people I can teleport objects.
Mhm.
Right.
But he wanted to take it to the next level. So it's like, imagine like we didn't know Elon Musk, and all of a sudden out of the blue, he's like, I'm going to Mars. And
Yeah.
like it's like that's kind of like what his mind is. He's like, I want to be like this explosive revolution that happens all overnight. It's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe you should have brought like I founded teleportation and bring in a team of people to study and work together. It's just him and this one computer. Maybe if he brought in more people, maybe they'd be like, no, we need to make sure we don't have mold in this apartment. Could you imagine fusing with
Spore.
yeah, exactly, stuff that's what's going through. That's what makes me think so much. Like,
Yeah.
and I love this movie
I
because of
think
that.
that that's such a beautiful point, but taking it from a 2021 filmmaking perspective. Like, movies today are so about what does the action you make,
Hmm.
what's the ripple effect of that? Whereas like 80s movies, there is no concept of ripple
Yeah,
anywhere. It's just this thing happened and it was insane and it destroyed the lives of whoever you're looking at at
Yeah.
that moment. There's no sense of life beyond whatever's on the screen when it comes to 80s movies. So I think that
Mhm.
that's a really good point. Like today, if this movie was to come out today, that movie could probably not be released today
Yeah.
because it'd be like straight to DVD or whatever. Because now it'd be like, well, wait, what about all these investors and what about this and what about the media and how can it keep
Mhm.
it a secret and like all this stuff. Where today it's just not believable that somebody could, you know, where is this guy getting his funding? Why is he
Yeah.
Well,
in
he
like
works
a
for that
loft
company.
apartment?
He works for that company,
Yeah,
which is
Yeah.
and
probably why he wants to take it to the next level. He's like, I'm not letting this company just steal this and ruin it. Like, I
yeah,
want to be the first to teleport. I want to be the first. And he is.
yeah,
You're right though, Matt, like, too, like, if this took place today, Gina Davis wouldn't have that tape. She'd have a phone, and she'd be
Yeah,
filming
it'd be all
everything
over
yeah,
that's
the internet.
happening,
Yeah,
and, like, yeah, she'd already probably be able to sell it to not that or her boss, but somebody else immediately sort of thing.
yeah,
But you're right too, Eric. It's like he already created something that's so
so amazing
revolutionary. I
already.
know.
Yeah,
It's like you're right. Like if he just released that and he's like, look what we can do. We like the mail is completely irrelevant now. Packages can be instantaneous. And
yeah,
then at progressively they could start doing human teleportation. But you're right. He wanted it all. It's like it's a story about greed. It's like look what
yeah.
happens.
It's like
yeah,
he wanted electricity and the light bulb and the car. Like it's like all at once. It's like, dude, just take this one big huge win
And
yeah,
now no
yeah,
one gets it. Now like no
yeah.
one gets that
That's the
technology.
beauty of this movie. It makes you think like, man, like this guy really was his own worst enemy.
I saw something on IMDb that made a few parallels between his character as Stephen Brundle as the same character as Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park.
Hmm.
I
Um,
thought the same. That's the exact same thing I was
like
thinking too.
you spent so much time wondering if you could, you never stopped to ask if you should.
Also, who's in that movie?
Yeah.
Jeff
Who-
Goldblum. So
yeah,
It's
exactly.
yeah,
I mean,
it's the character.
no, I'm
same,
just saying. I'm
same.
just saying. Like, no, that's a good parallel. That's probably what they
Yeah,
got him.
that, and
So
then there's another like the girl from Jurassic Park says something about something went wrong, something went horribly wrong. Gina Davis says the same thing to Jeff Goldblum in this movie. But one thing, just to break from the existential topics, there is another scene that was filmed that wasn't put in the movie because it was deemed too graphic. And
oh, tell.
again, he did another teleportation where he took another baboon. Of course, he's got like an army of
Oh my
baboons
god.
and a cat and
Fuse
teleported
them.
them together to see if he could fuse two things. And this
Mhm.
hybrid baboon cat nightmare fuel creature came out and he had to chase it out of the apartment and beat it with a lead pipe because it was so
Oh
horrifying.
my god.
And everybody was like, that's a bit much.
It's funny. It's funny you said that because I wanted to ask, like, when we were talking alternate endings, I kind of thought of one involving the baboon where he shoots himself in the head, Gina Davis and everyone leaves, and then it like pans to the baboon, and you forgot, oh shit, the baboon also teleported, and maybe he does something where he just does an awkward movement, and you're like, oh, and it just ends, or
Yeah.
maybe he sees a fly and picks it and eats it or
Well,
something.
Eric, do you have an idea for a sequel?
I mean, there's a sequel.
There
I
is.
have no idea what it's about, but I would imagine a couple things. One
Sorry.
would be the kid is born a fly, and it happens to him at the age of like 16, where his metamorphosis happens. I would imagine something like that. Two, I thought of someone within that company following on the lines of him and what happened to him, and finding all the tapes, and talking with Gina Davis's character. And he wants to do it. However, he splices himself with something else that's more tangible, like an ant or something, where he becomes ants are an incredible species where they can lift over 5,000 times their body weight.
Mhm.
So the superpowerness of an ant would be kind of cool. So this guy gets obsessed with becoming this superhero like body and kind of obsesses about it, but he's even more evil in some way. I don't know. Those are like two things I was thinking of, but what, or Planet of the Apes with a baboon. You can go that direction. That's what happened. I thought it was a nuclear explosion. It's like, no, actually, the teleportation thing was the real thing. It's like, wow. Like,
Well, your
Wow.
sequel idea, Eric, isn't that far off. I mean, that is kind of what happens. I watched this like really quick recap of it. Apparently, Gina Davis's character is not Gina Davis, and
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
she dies in childbirth and then gives
Uh,
birth to a it's like a cocoon, and then they, like, open it, and then there's a baby in it, and he, like, like, within 1 year, he's, like, 3 years old, and then within
Okay.
5 years, he's, like, 20, and but then you're right, at, like, 20 years old, he starts becoming like
He'd
a
metamorph
fly.
yeah, yeah, like a butterfly or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only actor that came back was, the boyfriend, like, the ex-boyfriend whose hands get melted. He's the
Is
only
he is
actor.
he without a is he with, like, a hook hand or something?
Yeah, and a
I
peg leg.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a pirate now. No, I didn't watch it, but, that he's just, like, gives it up too. Like, when Gina Davis' character dies, like, "I don't want this fucking thing." So they give it to
Yeah.
some, like, medical research facility, and they do all these experiments on him and stuff, but I don't
Interesting.
know. Yeah, it looks horrible. I think Eric Stoltz is the character that plays him, but,
Oh, man.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
trash. No, but this it's funny
Oh,
because there was always a list of who was thought of for the cast and who almost directed and everything. And I saw that Tim Burton was sought after as a director and Michael
Huh.
Keaton was sought after for Stephen Brundle. And it's like that would have been a completely different movie. And it would have
Yeah.
been such a classic old
hmm.
Burton movie. Um,
Yeah, I don't know if Burton could have done it as it's like, I
it
don't
would have
know.
been so much more campy.
Yeah, it would've been like a whimsical thing, not like this grotesque,
Mm.
horrible thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Who else besides Jeff Goldblum could play the Fly?
They had John Lithgow, they had Mel Gibson, they had who
Jeff
else?
Goldblum, I mean, he kinda has, like, these characteristics. Like, he has big eyes, like
Oh, he was perfect. He was perfect. Yeah, his eyes jutting around, like even like one of the beautiful things of the prosthetic makeup I thought was amazing was he somehow appeared like shorter. He's like 6'4" in real
yeah,
life.
they made him hunch. Like, he
Uh,
had, like, a hunch.
Yeah, and like the way he hunged the prosthetics, like he looked like he was getting smaller and changing
Mm,
shape, but like clearly he was still in there.
hmm.
I mean, it was so beautifully done, his
yeah.
transformation.
What do
Yeah.
you think of Brendan Fraser as the Fly in the '80s?
Eh,
He'd be a little too young for it at the time, but he might be
Yeah,
good. He might be good. He would have been good, I think.
I think Walking Phoenix nowadays could have done it, but I was thinking the first thing obviously the hairs on the back is the first thing that we start to notice when, the fly hairs come out.
Oh, that even disturbed me.
Yeah.
Like,
But I was thinking about it because, like, the whole idea of this movie is, like, this guy has no life. Like, he doesn't never talks about his friends or his family or just anything besides this. Like, he can play the
Yeah.
piano, whatever, but this is his life. And they say he's been working on this for 6 years. So then you notice he rolls over and he rolls into, like, a computer chip, and the
Mhm.
computer chip is the first thing, and it goes into him. And then at the end, he becomes his work. He, like, combines with the pot or whatever. So it's like his whole life has been this job. Like, this work is him. And I was just thinking, it's like, oh, it's weird that the computer chip would go into his flesh, basically. And it's like that's kind of like a precursor to him becoming a hybrid with his own machines.
right? I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought
That's a
that the
good
whole
point.
computer chip and the hairs coming out of it, that was so seamless.
Yeah.
Ugh,
That just whole thing, it was so subtle, but it just I didn't question any of it. It made
yeah.
sense that a computer chip would be in his bed.
Yeah.
It made sense that hairs would come out at that part. It was a tiny detail, but it made sense to progress the plot. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, and then I just thought the bar scene, obviously, the fight scene is really interesting when he snaps his wrist or whatever, but the fact that the woman just comes home with him, like, so easily, I was just like, does he give off some, like, pheromones or something? Because why would this woman just go home with him? He
Right?
just, like, just broke your boyfriend's arm, it was like, "Let's
Yeah.
go," and then, like, takes her home.
That
The Spanish Fly, like, that could be a thing. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, that was, like, insane that he just waltzes in with no shirt, eating a candy bar,
Yeah,
breaks this guy's arm, and then is just like, "Come home with me." And he doesn't even look
yeah.
that good at that point. His face is all fucked up. It's like, what is this girl thinking?
Yeah, she, like, lives with her mom, and she's just like,
Yeah.
"Okay," and yeah, and if Gina Davis didn't come in right then, like, what the fuck would have happened? He's dragging her over to the machine, like,
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna turn her inside out probably.
Oh, definitely, she would have been inside out.
oh my
God.
god. Yeah.
or like half her, half baboon.
Or like half like stocking or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to think though, what would be like the coolest thing to be combined with?
An ant, I think. If I could not like turn into an ant, I would like their ability. I think they're amazing, like creatures.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that's pretty
I think
boring, but dude, look up or fleas, even fleas, dude. They could jump like
But do you have to turn
insane.
into that though? So would like
All right,
think about that. You don't want to turn into an ant, dude.
a wolf would be cool because you could be a werewolf, which is dope.
There
But
you go.
Yeah. I mean, that was also the other thing, that it wasn't just Brundle becoming a fly. Like he didn't just end, like his final phase was him. He was this hybrid man fly thing.
and
Yeah.
You
and
know,
computer and pod,
yeah,
yeah.
and computer. But it's not like whatever, it's a fusion of the two. So I think that is very important. You're not just going to turn into Eric the Ant. You're going to be this monster thing with a huge ass that lifts buildings.
I did the math actually. So an ant can lift 5,000 pounds. So I'm about 5,000 times its weight.
Wait, yeah, I was
Sorry,
like, what?
5,000 times its weight. Sorry. So me, I'm about 215. So that would be like the equivalent of me being able to lift 1,000,000 pounds. So you take that, and that's like, I saw like what weighs 1,000,000 pounds, and it's like 2 statues of liberties. So like put that into perspective. Like
Yeah, so
ants are insane.
You with a dump truck of an ass lifting,
throwing
benching the
bridges.
Statue of Liberty. I don't think that this is that far fetched.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, Matt. What about you? What about you if you had to pick?
I mean, my favorite animal is a jellyfish. So
Oh
I think
my God.
I think that would be wild
Oh
to
my
just be like
God.
half man, half jellyfish. Just like I would basically be the senator from the first X-Men. Just like
that's right.
Oh my
just
God.
completely fall apart.
Oh, that would be such a horrible way to die too. Like,
Yeah. What I mean, I'd rather that been the big half pod.
yeah, that's true. I think I'd go with a bear. Thinking about it.
Yeah,
Because it's
that
like
would be.
they're just like a big
Brother Bear.
human. I don't know. They're
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of turn to like Sasquatch, sort of thing. I don't know.
You'd be strong
as
as shit too. Yeah, very strong.
Yeah, and you'd still. I mean, you look like a freak. Like everybody would like obviously avoid you, but like
Bears are fast too, dude. Yeah, bear's a good one. Bear's a
and
good
you get
one.
to sleep for like 4 months. Hey.
Well, what about a
you'd be like
sloth, dude?
I
Chill.
don't know.
Like imagine taking a brain of a sloth and be like, I don't need to worry about anything, man. I'm cool.
Yeah. You just forget to eat and
It's
die.
like, you know what? I'm fine. Like I don't need to go to work.
I wonder what, like, just to go back to the his work and everything. I wonder what the end goal really was with these pods.
Nobel Peace Prize was one of the things he wanted.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he wanted
Prize.
that, but it's like,
not Peace Prize.
it's funny that it wasn't like there was no directive. Like I thought that was kind of interesting. Like he just invented these and had investors and whatever, but it wasn't like, we're trying to figure out transportation. Like we're trying to figure out this. It was like, I just did this and it's going to change everything.
Yeah, you're. I mean, they do say like it would change the transportation industry, the package industry, or whatever. But he doesn't say that. Gina Davis says it. So you're right. It's not like he sits there and has this like grandiose like moment with her where he's like, "I'm gonna change the world and do this, and I'm gonna be." He doesn't have that. So you're right. It is very just insulated. I don't know.
Yeah, he just kind of makes this, and then this is all a result of him being so greedy and infused in his own work, pun intended. But yeah, he doesn't say like, I'm working for this company and we're trying to figure out, create a green ecosystem by eliminating cars. Like that, I think that again is a 2021 perspective on movie making. There has to be a reason.
Right.
Well, maybe something as simple as like his parents died in a car accident, and he wants to change the way we travel, or it could have been like a small thing like that. Like he's obsessed with changing travel, or
we don't need it though.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that it's not there, but I think that it is interesting. Like in today's movie, all of these prequels and origin stories. We're so obsessed
We
with
need
why.
answers. We need answers
You
to
know,
everything.
like
yeah.
why the hell did this guy just spend millions of dollars on making these pods and then just turn a monkey inside out? Like, what the hell?
No,
How did we get here?
You're right, though, Matt. Yeah, I love how simple it is, and I just wondered, like, Gina Davis kind of I mean, that's not her fault, but she basically derails his entire life. Like, I think she
Oh yeah,
gives him the courage to, like, I'm gonna try this sort of thing. I'm gonna show her, and I mean, because I don't think he would have done this if he didn't start drinking with her, and had that night where he was getting jealous and stuff like that. Like that motivated him, and her coming into his life.
Yeah.
even something small like when they go on their little vacation, he's wearing the brown leather jacket.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, he's got 5 outfits. He never changes. He took it from Einstein,
yeah.
and then he meets her, and he's out gallivanting, and he's wearing leather jackets and doing whatever. And yeah, absolutely, just he completely loses focus.
Yeah, I think that's really it because that's all he's been doing for years and years and years, and then he finally meets this girl, and also, that whole interaction in the beginning is so weird. It's like, she's there for a story, she finds him attractive, whatever, but then goes back to his creepy-ass warehouse, he just starts playing the piano out of nowhere, it's like, "Okay, like,
Yeah.
what is this?" sort of thing. I don't have a cell phone, this is very, like,
Maybe
dangerous.
he brought his drink of alcohol in the pod with him, and the alcohol fused into him, and he's forever a drunk.
So eccentric, I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. But I love this. I mean, I thought this was a really cool movie. It's so deep. I think it just works on so many levels, and
Yeah.
another great
Ma-
David Cronenberg movie.
Makes you think. It makes you think.
I definitely did not pick this movie and go into it thinking we would all come out with such a deep, crazy, metaphorical kind of appreciation for this.
We learned something today.
I definitely thought like, oh man, we're gonna watch The Fly. This dude's wiener's gonna fall off. It's gonna be wild. But like, no, this movie, literally, I'm watching it and I was just like, oh my god, like I'm questioning my own existence
Yeah.
and like all of this, and it's just such a slept on movie.
Yeah, you could look into this so deep. It's like his ear falls off. It's like maybe he wasn't listening before. He should have listened more. It's a metaphor for taking a moment. It's
like it reminds me of Spider-Man too. It's like with great power comes great responsibility, and he has this great power, and he just is kind of foolish with it as well. So, like going in the pod drunk, that's pretty foolish.
Yeah, exactly. And he starts quoting all these old poems like "Into the plasma I go" and whatever.
The flesh.
Yeah, no, it really does make you stop and think about what you're doing. What are the pros and cons, utilitarian outcomes of every action, who it affects, why it affects them. The whole pregnancy, like his actions are now her responsibilities to deal with.
Yeah.
No.
He's foolish with his power.
Well, okay, so they didn't have sex after he got through the teleporter, right?
They did.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought
they did have sex.
They did.
Oh,
he was
you're
like,
right.
It worked, and so they celebrated.
You're right.
They popped a bottle of champagne, and then yes, you assume afterwards they did. So
you're right. No, because they said like he's like, God, how do you have any fluid left in you, sort of thing. I remember. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Just heaves his seed into her.
Throw him stuff.
Yeah, wait. What would that do? That wouldn't actually burn your flesh off.
Well, that's how a fly eats. A fly has to use acid to break down, like it's an enzyme to break down the food before it.
So if a fly just like sat on like a dead guy, I don't know. So a fly could do that?
A giant fly.
Yeah. Yeah, not a normal house fly is gonna go land on a homeless guy and just puke on him until it disappears.
Look at what ticks can do. Ticks can like destroy everything. Like flies are gnarly, dude.
No, they aren't.
They're nasty.
Well,
I think it's about time to spin that wheel. What do we say?
All right. You do that, Erik.
Spinning.
Woo!
Hereditary.
Oh my god!
Never seen this one, Alec. Never saw it.
Dude, we've been talking about this throughout like my few podcasts with you guys. That is one of the scariest movies ever made.
Looking forward to it.
I'm so excited for this.
Oh god! If you thought you felt sad after this movie, you are gonna be so miserable
thank you.
watching this movie.
Really hyping this up. Really looking forward to
Dude, it's like a punishment to watch this
it.
movie.
Okay, let me watch it.
I can't wait.
Like, you're gonna have an awful time after this.
Oh my God.
Dude, you are going to. You're gonna like want somebody to apologize to you. You're gonna want to apologize. It's just a sad, sad
Oh
movie.
Oh
wow.
my God. All right. Well, Matt, thanks for
Thank you. Oh my
joining us
God.
today.
This is perfect.
Gentlemen, it's such a pleasure as always. Can't wait for the next one. Good luck with Hereditary. I will not be watching it.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll see everybody on Monday with Hereditary.
See you guys.
Woo? Woo? Maybe. Woo!